I'm back. Let's talk about organizing our classes and files and creating a Markdown file to kind of as a README for our project. So we looked at how to add new classes to our programs. And so here, starting from wherever I left off before, I've got 3 classes. All right. But I really only want 1 class per file, because as I add more classes, this file is just going to keep getting longer and longer, and I'm going to have to scroll up and down to find what I need, when I could separate these into separate files, and then I can simply find them over here and click on what I need. Fairly simple process. The standard is that you would name the file using the name of the class. So if I run this, all right, we got this. So let's start moving these to new files. So let's create a new file here on Replit, and I'll call it zord.cs. And all I need to do is copy the class over into that file. All right. And you'll see the program still runs. All right. By default, when Replit compiles these, it'll look through all the files first to see how everything's connected. So if you just create new files and throw the classes in there, it'll find them and stick the project together for you. So we'll make the other one megazord.cs. All right. And then in here, just copy the class over. Make sure it still works. And you can see up here in the console, it is showing you it's running the main.exe, which was compiled from these 3 files, main.cs, megazord.cs, and zord.cs. And you can click on them up here to open them. Okay, there's another file over here. It's main.exe. Because C# is a compiled language, it will create a binary file by compiling your code. So it reads all the code and creates a file that's organized in binary that is optimized for the computer to run quickly. And so that's why it takes a little bit of, sometimes it'll take a bit of time when you run your project before anything shows up, because it has to recompile and create that file. So you don't need this file in Replit for the thing to work. It'll just generate it each time. So I deleted it. If I run it, the first thing it'll do is compile all the code. If there are no syntax errors, it'll create main.exe, and then it runs it, and there's our program. All right, and now if I need to check out my classes, I can just check that out in each file. Now the classes are small right now because we are only including our properties, but we're going to be adding methods here in the next unit, and they can get fairly long, so it's nice to be able to separate them out. Now there's another way to organize your code, because we fixed the problem of what happens if our file gets too big because we keep adding more and more classes. So we separated it into different files. Well, what happens if we create a bunch of different files we're going to have a ton of files. So you can organize your code into folders, and you can also use something called namespaces. So for this example, I'm going to say megazord.cs and zord.cs. I want to put those files together. I want those files to always be able to see each other, because a megazord can contain a zord. So I want these to always be together. So I'll put them in their own namespace. And it's as easy as just saying namespace. I'm going to call it Rangers. Capitalize the name. Stick my class in there. And so now anything that wants to use this class will need to either be within the namespace of Rangers, or the file that wants to use it, we can put using, and then you put the name of the namespace. All right, and so let's add the Zord also to the namespace. So I'm organizing these classes into the same namespace. I want to be consistent with my curly braces here. Make sure it works. All right. So we've stuck Megazord and Zord in their own namespace, and we've told the main.cs to use that namespace so it will have access to all classes and all their members that are public from that namespace. Okay. Okay, so now that I've organized it into a namespace, if I do get too many files, I can throw those in a folder. So I can say Rangers. That'll be for the Rangers namespace, and I can move the files up into there. And so as your project grows, you can use these structures to help organize the code. And this is another reason you might want to use namespaces is in here, you may end up using namespaces with similar classes and potential members, and so it can help separate things that might cause conflicts. Alright, so the last thing I want to show you here, now that we've separated our code out, is creating a Markdown file. So I put some information at the bottom of this project to kind of help explain what the heck a Zord is, just in case you care, and we just kind of threw it as comments down here. Well, you're only gonna see that if you're in that file. So if there's some information you want people to know, this is used particularly on GitHub as a way to kind of document your project. So you create a README that tells people what it's for, maybe when it was last updated, things like that. But for this example, I'm just going to throw this information in there, and I also have some links to the basic syntax of creating a Markdown file and some of the things you can do in Replit Markdown files. So create a new file, readme.md for Markdown, Okay, and the Replit will recognize this as a Markdown file, and you can see there's a Markdown tab up here now. If you want to, when you go back to your code, you have to switch back to console to see the output. Okay, anyway, we want to grab that. I'm going to take all those comments out of here because they kind of pertain to the project overall and not really the class, the main class. Okay, so I'll toss this in here. I can see the preview over here. So let's use some of the Markdown syntax to organize this, make it a bit more readable. So the first thing is I'm going to take this background info and I'm going to make it a level 1 header. So you just put a # in front of it. I'll make this question a level 2 header. And then this information, I'm going to put that in a block quote. And I'll break it up a bit so it's not just a giant block. If you put 2 spaces and hit enter, you can put a line break in. So space, space, enter. Now I've got this kind of information formatted here. I'll throw the links in, some more headers down here. So we'll do, and notice I am putting a empty line between different structures here. Get rid of some of this comment code. I'm going to move these links down to the bottom. And I'll put a little header here that says Markdown basic syntax. And then I'll make a header for this link that says basic syntax guide. And you'll notice the links automatically become hyperlinks. That's nice. So if someone's reading this, they don't have to copy and paste it. They can just click on it. And this one is the Replit Markdown info. So you can check these out if you want to bone up on your Markdown skills for documenting your code in a README. And I might put a bullet in front of these so you can just put a single dash and a space. And now I've got a nice Markdown file. It's a little like HTML. Just another language for you to learn, right? All right. Well, I do want you to know how to do all of this moving forward. So in the assignments, I'll expect you to separate your classes into different files at a minimum. If you ever work on larger projects, maybe you want to work on a project on GitHub that you start or work on someone else's, you can better understand how things are organized. So check those links out, and I'll see you on the next video.